There's universal laws that are either going to help you in your journey, or they are literally going to stop you at every single intersection. The space in which we get to talk about all the things and all the power that we actually have, and we're here to reclaim this power. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode here of Walking Manifestator, the space in which we get to talk about all the things and all the power that we actually have, that we have forgotten through stories that we've been told, and we're here to reclaim this power. I'm your host, Alexa Peña, and in today's conversation, we're gonna get into some very juicy details. I'm super excited, guys. I don't know if you can hear me through the microphone or if you can see me right now if you're watching me, but there's a lot of things happening right now. There's a lot of moving parts happening. There's a lot of growth happening in Walking Manifestator, and this, as for those of you, of course, that have followed and know a little bit about me, has been something that I've been working on going on 2 years now. And I have been seeing the growth that has been happening for the company. I have been seeing the growth that has been happening for myself, for my family. And it inspired me to want to cover these conversations in the next episodes that we're going to be having. And they're all going to be geared around learning how to really learn with the universal laws and how to really use them in your advantage. And the reason I think this is so important to really understand is because just like the law of gravity is a real thing and we understand that it exists, there's universal laws that are either going to help you in your journey, or they are literally going to stop you at every single intersection because you're not working in harmony with them. And they're going to make it a point to show you how either nice your life can be when you work with the law, or how dysfunctional it can be. And I was actually having a conversation today with one of our new students that joined Walking Manifestator coaching program. So for those of you that are not in our community yet, why are you not there? Why aren't you in the community? But for those of you that are, then you already know. And essentially in this community, we get to talk about live events that we might be having. We get to actually create like workbooks and stuff. And we actually have a BOGO going on right now. And essentially we're running a promotion. So typically the Universal Laws of Manifesting program that we have, it's $300. And right now we're running a promotion for $27. So we had a ton of new activity with people that were joining the community. And the reason I created it this way was because I wanted to give the opportunity for more people to see what Walking Manifestator is all about and lead with value. Because if there's one thing that I have learned is that when you are looking to do anything in life, always lead with value. When you can give value, the laws of the universe, which we're gonna get into, are going to compensate you, okay? So one of the conversations I was having with this new student I was telling you about was really geared around the old patterns that they've been creating. And sometimes you don't realize this, right? But it's happening so subconsciously. It's happening to such a deep and embedded fiber in your essence that you don't even know it's happening. It's kind of like when some people, I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but at least in my family, my grandmother, for those of you that have heard my story, and if you haven't and you're here listening, I'm gonna share it again because we've been having a lot of new people, so let me share it again. I grew up with my grandparents, okay, and I'm gonna give you a Cliff Note version of it, but I grew up with my grandparents. I didn't have my mom or my dad, and because of their own personal drama, I had to live with my grandparents. My dad was out of the picture. He had his own family, and that was it. And my mom was out of the picture for personal things that happened in her life, and I was left to be with my grandmother. And I had so many limiting beliefs around this. I remember that I lived with her in this literally this storage room. You might be wondering, Alexa, what do you mean a storage room? Well, let me elaborate. So it was an attachment to the actual house that was like not her house, right? It was somebody else owned that house. So we lived in like this attachment in the backyard. And when I tell you an attachment, I want you to picture like, you know, in Mexican language, you know, in like in Spanish, you know, we say jale chicano, which is really like just not a good work, right? It's not something that is a contractor licensed, and every single time when it would rain, there would be water that would literally go in through the hallway. There was no AC. There was literally, I mean, just the situation was not ideal. And I remember at age of 8 years old, literally leaving school, walking back home, going in the mornings to school because my grandmother would have to leave early and she would have to work. And that was kind of like the beginning, right, of like my Alexa story. And then that kind of transcends into like me being a teenager in middle school and getting bullied, and then having to really learn to defend myself and be in this mindset of survival of the fittest. And it was either going to be you or me, and it wasn't going to be me. So that turned really nice very quickly. And I had a lot of just trauma, of just things that I identified with as trauma, right? Because we all have different patterns on that. So that's a whole other subject. But what things that I identified as traumatic for my life, right? And I'm sharing this with you right now because, again, these stories, right? How are they holding you back? For the longest time, I couldn't tell my story without feeling like my voice was gonna crack, or without feeling like it was taking me right back to that place. And I would be lying to you if I said that like all the physiology behind it has just like left, because there's still part of me that is working past some emotions. But when I tell you it is night and day, it is an understatement. And I am telling you this because when it comes to this journey that you're in, when it comes to these videos you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube, or when it comes to these audiobooks that you listen to, or audio podcasts that you're listening to, you do it for one intention and one intention only, and that is to grow. And if you learn how impactful working with the laws is going to be for your life, you will never, ever do anything of the contrary. And you see, something that for me really resonated with my story and with the story that I kept telling myself, just to kind of finish off that story that I was sharing with you guys, for the longest time, these limiting beliefs held me back. You know, this pattern that I had created of paradigm that I was identifying with. This is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because it's stuff that I have seen how it looked before, and I have seen how it looks after implementation. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I actually like this stuff, this woo-woo stuff that everybody kept talking about, right? And you see, there's something internally within you that already resonates with this material. Like, I don't have to say this to you. There's something within you that as you're listening to it, you just tell yourself, you know what, this really makes sense. This is really something that resonates with me. This is something that I can identify with. And the reason for that is because there is a deeper vibration around us that is literally waiting for us to tap into it. And the moment that you tap into this field that is all around, okay, literally all around, is the moment that all these things are going to start changing for you. And the conversation I was having with my student was, what are the patterns that you keep recreating? Because if you think about it, when it comes to the law of correspondence, right? The outer world is literally a mirror of our internal world. Let's dissect that. So most people think, I need to force things. I need to force things to happen. I need to make things happen. I have a lot of people that have gone through our coaching, guys as well, that have just been in this mechanical energy, this like masculine energy. And I'm telling you, that's amazing, right? We have to learn how to complement each other. We have our female energy and our masculine energy, and we all have both. But here's the thing, when it comes to the pressure of society, when it comes to the pressure of these beliefs that you have chosen, okay, because you're choosing to embody them, you're choosing to accept them. A belief is literally just that. A belief is something that you have told yourself time and time again that now, no matter what anybody tells you, You see it as truth because there is nobody else that's going to tell you anything different from it, because that is your truth. Yes? So when it comes to these beliefs that you've adopted, and we talk about these internal mirrors, most people think, well, if I want more money, I need to just work really hard. I need to push and I need to sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, okay? I love me those morning motivation videos. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but those videos that talk about grind and get it and pain and yeah, I love that. And that's amazing. But guess what? Pain is only gonna take you to a certain point. And that's the reality. And that's why I love listening to them in the gym. I love putting one of those in the gym and just like going hard in the treadmill right before, I'm going to go and hit the weights. And it puts me in an optimal state of mind because I remind myself that I'm here for something bigger, right? And I think of all the reasons why I can't fail. However, there's a different way, and there's a more intrinsic, way of motivating yourself. And there lies the difference between the results that you want to see in your external world, and the actual feeling that you're feeling in your internal world. And this is where a lot of people, when it comes to the manifestation realm, right, when we have new people understanding or trying to understand manifesting, they get triggered by it because you have that one dude on the internet talking about you should just stay in your room and tell yourself you're abundant all day until you turn purple, and then you're gonna be abundant. And you're just looking at the video in like the most cringed way possible because you're like, you're gonna tell me that is how I'm gonna manifest more money. Okay, yes, sir. Sure, right? And it triggers you. But here's what I would invite you to consider, There's two ways to see that. Number one, that person is just crazy because, they're saying that if you sit in your room and manifest and that's gonna magically appear, they're crazy. Go to the Looney Tune asylum, right? No, that's one way. And then the second way to see it is, what if this person that is sharing this information with me right now has something that is actually potentially gonna work for me? And when we open up the consideration of the potential of something that we do not fully understand, we are opening ourselves up to an unknown potential, an unknown future. And automatically, our brain most of the time is going to recognize that as something that is unknown, and it's going to try and keep you safe, right? So first of all, it's already going to say, no, that person is crazy. Why are you even considering believing that this manifestation stuff is real? That is really, really weird, and you should not, right? So it's keeping you safe. But let's just say you ignore this little part of you, right? And you say, you know what? I'm going to just test it out. The second reason why a lot of the times people don't actually manifest something is because they don't understand that it's not just about sitting in your room and telling yourself you're abundant. What did you do? What were the actions that you also did? You see a lot, especially in the spiritual community, a lot of spiritual teachers, and I don't even like using, the word gurus and leaders. I mean, we're a person. I'm a person. I'm here. I'm learning. I'm literally picking up books every single day and learning. That's what I do, and that's how I learn, and I try and embody the material. That's what I'm trying to do here, sharing this information with you. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they like to idealize themselves and they like to put themselves on a pedestal, and they want you to do the same, and they want to take your power and they want you to give them all the power. So then you have somebody in the spiritual community that will tell you something to the effect of money is evil and you should just be in this like giving energy, right? And they personally you can clearly see they have a block. They have a block around money because at one point or another, somebody in their life told them that money was the root of all evil and they should never have money. Therefore, they embodied that and they said, you know what? Yes, it's true. And now they have associated this as a evil thing. We're on the same page, I'm hoping, right? Now, when it comes to this realization in the spiritual community and in this whole, manifestation realm of telling yourself that you're abundant and it's not working for you, the biggest thing that most people are not doing is making sure that they are actually understanding that it's not just about sitting in the room, but it's also about taking the inspired action. You see, there's 3 components when it comes to a manifestation: your thought, your feeling, and your action. Action, obviously, is very important for this to come into fruition. Now, another question I was asking her was, is this external world, okay, that you're experiencing right now actually showing you what you want to see? And if the answer is no, okay, because there's a lot of you guys that you watch these videos and then you go and act like a total with somebody down the street, right? Or you're listening to the audiobook about, being compassionate, and then somebody does something to you at work to piss you off and you show no compassion because you're perfect. And those are the moments that we're being tested. And a lot of the times I don't even like using the word tested, if I'm being honest with you, because it's just the opportunity to prove that we've embodied the material. That's all. So you have the opportunity to reframe how you're going to see this new opportunity that has presented itself to you. Now, another thing I've really seen, and this is something that we also talk a lot about in the 12 laws of manifesting modules that we've been covering lately, and it's the law of correspondence, right? And when it comes to this correspondence law, the law of cause and effect, and everything you do creates a ripple. So if you can understand that everything you do is creating a ripple, that means that the action that you're choosing to participate in right now, the information you're choosing to consume, is going to have a ripple effect in everything else you do. And you see, something that sometimes you might not be considering is, what is the first thing you're telling yourself when you're waking up? I had this conversation with my oldest, and I was actually laughing because he tells me, I was like, hey, he was asking me, Mom, sometimes in the morning when I wake up, I just feel this like pain in my stomach and I just don't feel good. And I straight, go into like, okay, like maybe he's like just getting anxiety, going to school. So I'm trying to like play, detective over here. So I was just like, okay, like tell me 3 thoughts that you have as soon as you wake up. And then he's like, well, the first thought I thought of was, man, I felt like I had just gone to sleep and it's already time to wake up. And I was like, okay. And then he goes into his second thought, and his second thought was brushing his teeth. He said, I wonder if I could use toothpaste as a sunscreen. And he goes on to his third thought, right? And I was just like, okay, well, let me see. So what you're telling me is that the first thoughts that you had were, I'm tired. The second thought you had was random thought, and then the third thought was random, right? And then he's just like, yeah. I was like, okay. So then now when you get to school, you are already in that energy, so you don't have a stomachache anymore, right? And he's like, no, I don't have a stomachache anymore when I don't have a stomachache anymore when I'm at school. So I'm like, okay, so let's dissect this. That means that you had these 3 thoughts in the morning that were not conducive, that were not positive in any way, shape, or form until we got in the car, because in the car we always do our affirmations. I'm always on him about that because I tell him like these are the stepping stones that are priming you. And even though I might be out of the picture, literally every time I'm out traveling and he's with Dad, it happens every time, like, are we gonna do our affirmations? And it's priming him, it's helping him set up these little behaviors that are gonna help him later in life when things get, a little challenging. So I tell him, I was like, okay, so let's dissect this. If you would have taken just 5 minutes to say, thank you, universe, for all of the opportunities that I continue to receive, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to wake up today because somebody else didn't. If you just sat there and reflected on that for 5 minutes, just think about the state of the energy that is so dramatically different from you, oh my God, I gotta go to school, right? And this is a conversation I'm having with an 8-year-old, guys, okay? He's about to be 9 next month, and he understood it, and he's been doing it, and he has not complained about him feeling sick in the morning. And I wanna invite you to ask yourself, what is it that you're thinking as soon as you wake up? You see, most of the time, the first thing you're doing is you're getting your phone. The first thing that you're doing is checking if your boyfriend texted you back, or if they didn't text you back, or if they liked the picture of the girl, or if they didn't like the picture of the girl, or if that girl that you don't like actually posted the selfie video that you're just gonna go on and criticize. You are putting energy into these things that are only going to amplify the energy that you're going to carry out the rest of your day. And if you want to start seeing better things in your life, start thinking better things, okay? I want to thank you for staying with me this entire time. And I want to invite you again to our community, okay? Remember, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And if you want to see more changes in your life, if you want things to really just level up for you, whatever that means for you, okay? Because remember, manifesting is whatever it means. It can be manifesting more money. It can be manifesting your love. It can be manifesting more purpose in life, whatever you're manifesting. If that's something that you can resonate with, the average of the 5 people that we are around is going to impact us. So if you're on these community groups of negative people always talking negative things about the world, that's going to resonate with you and linger. Versus if you're in a community of people that are uplifting each other and trying to grow and build, that's going to linger with you as well. Okay? So I want to welcome you again to Walking Manifestator, the community. If you guys have not joined yet, encourage you to check it out. The links are all down below. It is completely free. We have some amazing freebies going on, and we're going to be having a raffle this coming month. So if that is something you're interested in learning more about, I recommend you check out the link so that you can get all the details. But until then, I just want to tell you, keep creating the life that you are worthy of creating. You are a walking manifestator, and you absolutely can have it all. With all the love, I will talk to you guys on the next one.